I recently made 2 videos about species that very few people know about, as suggested by you guys. But because I spend anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week researching for my videos, I personally come across strange species all the time that I've never heard of before. So in this video, I want to take a look at 25 species of animal that I personally think aren't showcased enough in nature documentaries, and that perhaps not many of you know about either. I tried to focus on animals that are not only obscure, but that have some physical or behavioral feature that makes them particularly interesting. So let's take a look at these 25 animals that were new to me, and that may just be new to you too. I'll start with a species of lizard that I came across while I was doing research for my last video, and it blew my mind because it looks amazing and I had never heard of it before. The secret toadhead Agama is a small lizard found in Central Asia. It likes to sit atop large sand dunes, where it soaks up the sun and feeds on small insects. Its tan-colored body helps it to blend into its environment, and this is its main form of defense. But of course, even the best camouflaged animals are discovered by predators. And that's when the secret toadhead Agama reveals its secret. It flattens its body, curls up its tail like a scorpion, and spreads its mouth wide open. In doing so, 2 hidden flaps of bright pink skin unfold and pop open on either side of its mouth, making it appear as though its mouth is much larger than it really is. Another species with a strange mouth that you may not have heard of is the Sling Jaw Rass. If you saw one swimming along the coral reef of the Indo-Pacific, you might not pay much attention to it. The females can be yellow or dark brown, while the males are mostly black and white with yellow and orange patches. But while they look like just another fish, they have a very strange way of eating. They feed on smaller fish and crustaceans, and they do so with an extreme jaw protrusion that extends forward like a tube. This allows them to catch their prey by surprise without having to get as close as other species, similar to how chameleons hunt using their tongues. The ocean is home to several other extremely strange fish that are surprisingly unknown given how incredible they look. The ornate ghost pipefish is one example. These spectacular fish use their spinules and variety of color forms to hide among seagrasses and corals, where they cling to surface with their prehensile tails. Despite the fact that they can be locally common, their camouflage makes them quite difficult to find. Perhaps even stranger is the pineapple fish. It isn't hard to see how these fish get their name, being yellow and brown and covered in armor-like scales. This particular species is found in the warmer waters around Australia, and they're not very strong swimmers. As a result, they spend the day hiding in small caves or under rocky ledges. At night, they swim out over sand flats and use red bioluminescent light organs near their mouths to search for small shrimp to eat. Sometimes animals look like other animals. Panda ants are neither a panda nor an ant, but they have similar features to both, being black and white, with the wingless females walking around on the ground just like ants do. But they're actually a species of solitary wasp that's native to Chile, and while the females are wingless, the males still have wings. Their striking black and white velvety bodies are more than just decoration. These colors serve as a warning to potential predators, as the panda ant is capable of delivering an extremely painful sting. Another strange mimic that you probably haven't heard of is Macrocilix maya, a small moth from South and Southeast Asia. At first glance, it may just look like a white moth with spotted wings, but take a closer look at those spots. They actually look like flies. This species keeps predators away by appearing to be a bird dropping being visited by flies. And if a predator approaches, they're also said to produce a foul smell to help deter them. Another species of moth, Siamusotima aranea from northern Thailand, has patterns on its wings that, when raised, make it look like a spider with orange legs. Some lesser-known species get their names because they look like creatures from human legend. In 2005, a new species of crab was described from the South Pacific Ocean. It's white and seems to be covered in fur. The Yeti crab lives below 2,000 meters on hydrothermal vents, and the lack of pigment is simply because it isn't needed this far below the surface where no sunlight can reach. Meanwhile, the hair-like structures covering their bodies, primarily their pincers, contain bacteria that convert chemicals from the vents into food through chemosynthesis. The crab, in turn, grazes on these bacteria, essentially cultivating its food on its own body. There are 5 species of Sailfin dragons, and not enough people know about these beautiful lizards. They're relatively large, with 4 species found in Indonesia and 1 in the Philippines. But of course, they don't breathe fire. In fact, all 5 species live in close proximity to water and have an impressive sail-like structure on their tails that aids them when they swim and are also used in mating displays. Despite their fearsome appearance, these dragons are mostly herbivorous, feeding on flowers, leaves, and fruit. And then there are the cryptic species that look so much like another they go overlooked. Look at this picture. What do you see? A pair of Canada geese? What if I told you that these are 2 distinct species of goose? In 2004, the American Ornithologists Union figured out that what they thought was a smaller subspecies of Canada goose was actually an entirely distinct species. The cackling goose has a shorter neck, a smaller bill, and is closer in size to a large duck like a mallard. They breed way up north, and they have a distinct call. While the Canada goose sounds like this, the cackling goose sounds like this. But because of how similar their plumage is, many people still have no clue that these geese even exist, despite the fact that they may have looked directly at one before. Most of us are familiar with squirrels, but there are a couple of incredible species from Borneo that you may not have heard of. Like the unbelievable tufted ground squirrel. Its body and tail can be over a foot long each, and its sides and hind legs are boldly marked with black, white, and red fur. It has long ear tufts and an incredible bushy tail. In fact, the space that the fluff of the tail occupies is 130% of its body size, giving it the largest tail-to-body ratio of any known mammal. While it has only been recorded eating nuts, fruits, and insects, some local people call it the vampire squirrel, believing that it waits on low branches to attack and eat deer that pass by. On the other end of the spectrum for Bornean squirrels is the tufted pygmy squirrel. It too has long tufts of fur on its ears, but it's much smaller, being among the smallest species of squirrel in the world. They live in the forests above 1,000 meters, where they feed on tree bark and lichens in the moist cloud forests. Speaking of lesser-known pygmy animals, Australia is home to a species that you likely haven't heard of. Most animal lovers know about the famous blue-tongued skinks, but around the city of Adelaide lives the incredibly rare Adelaide pygmy blue-tongued skink. This species is so small that it lives in abandoned spider burrows. Once believed to have gone extinct, in 1992, a dead specimen was discovered in the stomach contents of a brown snake, and subsequent searches discovered a handful of populations consisting of no more than 7,000 wild individuals. Over on the other side of the world, in the cloud forests of Ecuador, lives another strange reptile that was once thought lost. The horned anole was first recorded in 1953, and then not seen again until it was rediscovered in 2004. The females are green and have a standard body shape, but the males have reddish sides and a distinct long proboscis stretching straight out 1 or 2 centimeters from the tip of its nose. This is thought to play a part in courtship displays. They've only ever been found at 5 locations and are believed to be endangered, in part due to habitat fragmentation. Speaking of horned animals, there's also a bird in South America that has a horn of sorts. Found in the tropical wetland habitats of the continent, the horned screamer is a strange bird. They're related to ducks and geese, but almost look more like a large species of pheasant. They can measure almost a meter long, and they're covered in black and white feathers. As one would gather from their name, horned screamers have a long, white, spiny structure that's attached to their skulls and grows straight up out of the top of their heads. It isn't a feather, but a projection made of cartilage covered in keratin, like a fingernail or a horn. It keeps growing throughout the bird's life, regularly breaking at the tip, and no one can seem to figure out what its purpose is. South America is also home to several species of porcupine that have been outshined by their temperate cousins. Most likely when you think of a porcupine, you imagine one of the species that has long quills, but the neotropical porcupines look quite different. They're covered in short spines, have grasping feet for climbing trees, and long prehensile tails. But some are stranger than others. For example, the stump-tailed porcupine has a whitish head and a very short tail relative to other members of its genus. Or the brown hairy dwarf porcupine, which has quills focused around the face and is covered in fluffy tan fur. It was thought to have gone extinct in the 1920s, was rediscovered in 1989, and is thought to have since gone extinct for real. Or the black-tailed hairy dwarf porcupine, which has a pronounced snout, hairy body, and distinct black tail. There are also many species of insect and arachnid that most people have never heard of, but there are a few that are super interesting that more people should know about. For example, the forests of Central and South America are home to a beautiful species of mosquito commonly known as the blue mosquito. It's active only during the day, and it stands out in the sunlight, being a striking iridescent blue-green with feathery hairs on its middle pair of legs. While it is occasionally a vector for the Zika virus, it's also a mosquito predator, as its larvae show a preference for hunting the larvae of other mosquito species. In northern Madagascar, another strange blue insect can be found. Acreoptera manga females are large and brown, only really standing out because of their size. But the males are something spectacular. As they mature, they turn a bright blue with orange on the underside of their legs, and they develop small wings that are a combination of yellow, black, and red. When disturbed, they spread them open and rub them together, making a noise in the hopes of scaring away any possible predator. Madagascar is also home to one of the strangest families of spiders in the world, the pelican spiders. Also found in southern Africa and Australia, these spiders are spider eaters, and they get their name thanks to the neck-like structures on their carapace and their elongated jaws, which give them the same silhouette as a pelican. There's huge variety among pelican spiders, with over 90 species described so far. In the jungles of West Africa lives a strange species of antelope. While you may have heard of duikers before, you may not know that there are actually at least 19 species. One species with the most distinct markings is the zebra duiker. They have chestnut coats with a series of dark stripes on their backs, a coloration that helps obscure their body shape in the rainforest where they live, making them harder for predators to spot. The marbled polecat of Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and Western China is a small, strikingly patterned member of the weasel family. Its fur is a bold mix of yellow, reddish-brown, and dark blotches, giving it a marbled appearance that makes it surprisingly conspicuous compared to other mustelids. But this coloration is a warning of its fierce defensive strategy. When threatened, it arches its back, raises its bushy tail, and can release a foul-smelling secretion, much like a skunk. South America has several obscure and strange mammals that are hardly ever talked about, one of which is the tuco-tuco. While they look and act like gophers, having similar body shapes and digging in the ground, they're actually more closely related to animals like degus, chinchillas, and guinea pigs. There are nearly 60 species, found mostly in the southern half of the continent, and interestingly, almost none of the species have ranges that overlap at all, with many species of tuco only being found in a single tiny location. Another group of mustelids that are hardly ever spoken about are the ferret badgers. While they're most closely related to badgers, they're actually neither ferret nor badger, instead looking like a cross between the two. There are 6 species spread across South and Southeast Asia where they lead elusive lives, hiding in burrows during the day and only coming out at night to forage for food. The rarest of the 6 species is the Vietnamese ferret badger, which was described in 2011 and is only known from 2 specimens. Southeast Asia is also home to a strange species of snake that has a pair of fleshy extensions on its snout. In fact, the tentacled snake is the only species of snake in the world with this feature. Even more interesting, it's entirely aquatic. So much so that it has a difficult time moving on land at all. It can be found in a shocking variety of habitats, from lakes and streams to man-made rice paddies to brackish estuaries and even calm saltwater lagoons. It uses this pair of tentacles to search for fish, its primary food source, and they're particularly helpful in murky waters where visibility is low. If you're familiar with keeping frogs as pets, you may be well aware of Budget's frog, but if you aren't, you may be surprised that you've never heard of it. This species is found in the Chaco of Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina, where both the tadpoles and adults feed aggressively on any animals smaller than them, including members of their own species. They have massive, rounded heads that account for as much as a third of their body size. And while they normally have a flattened appearance, when threatened, they fill themselves with air, lift their bodies off the ground with their short limbs, and open their mouths as they let out a loud screech. They're also capable of delivering a painful bite, having teeth on the upper jaw and a pair of small fangs on the lower jaw. Speaking of painful bites, sharks are also known for their incredible bite force. Even small species are capable of cutting prey in half in a single chomp. But there's a strange genus of sharks that uses its teeth in a very different way. The cookie cutter sharks are relatively small, not exceeding 56 centimeters in length, and while they will eat prey that's smaller than them on occasion, they actually prefer to hunt prey much, much larger. This is because the cookie cutter shark is actually parasitic, seeking out animals like whales, seals, and large bony fish, including larger species of shark. When they come across one of these large animals, they latch on with suctioning lips and use their rows of sharp teeth to cut out a mouthful of flesh from their victim, leaving a crater wound behind, and leading to their common name of cookie cutter shark. And that's it for this week's video. So, were any of these new to you? Which one did you find the most interesting? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I want to say a huge thanks to my patrons. They support this channel not only financially, but also with video ideas, encouraging comments, and feedback. If you want to support the channel and get early access to my videos, consider joining us on Patreon. The link is in the video description below. And if you haven't seen my other 2 videos on this topic, hit the thumbnail on the screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.